Chicago Bears fans, we have spent all offseason talking about how loaded this 2026 roster can be. But here's the question we need to talk about. Is this team actually better than the roster that won the NFC North and was a couple of plays away from making the NFC Championship? Tonight, we're putting the 2025 Bears roster head-to-head against the 2026 Bears roster, position by position. Better weapons? Better offense? Better defense? Some of these comparisons, it might surprise you. Plus, training camp is right around the corner. A little bit of ways, but still. There are several roster battles that could completely change the trajectory of this season, from left tackle to defensive tackle, cornerback depth, and some under-the-radar competitions nobody is talking enough about. We're breaking down the battles we're wanting to watch most closely. Is this the most talented Bears team we've seen in years? Or are fans setting expectations way too high? Let's find out. I'm Rob Schwartz with Bear Goggles On. Tonight with me is my good friend and co-host, Justin Onayemi. This is the Halas Huddle, where every Bears roster looks undefeated in June.
In June, that's right. Well, this is the off-season for the NFL, but there's no off-season here on the Halas Huddle. We're happy you're here, taking in Bears content with us. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, and comment. You know, these things we're putting out here, mostly these are just our opinions. We want to know what your opinion is, and we'll get into it with you. But, Rob, before we start, we're looking kind of fly tonight, looking kind of good. What's this about?
Justin, that hat is, just out of this world. I can see the block letters, like the way that it actually comes out there. It's amazing. The quality is fantastic. So before we get into the 2025 versus 2026 roster, we got to talk about a collaboration that is happening here, a little bit of a partnership that we are forming with a brand you guys all need to know about. If you are Chicago Bears fans, this is where you need to go, guys. This is where you need to go. Tally Brand Company. Okay. This is an independent Chicago Bears fan apparel. This is all, custom original designs. This guy is like, he's a Bears fan. And this is what set this whole thing up. Okay. And I do have to give Gary Ross a little bit of credit because he didn't mention it to me at one point. Like, dude, you should look into talking to this guy. I didn't. I ignored it. I brushed it off. Then I'm on social media and I come to find out that the guy who is creating this content, creating this apparel, right? His name's Rob. And I'm like, what? I got to get in touch with you. You have the best name ever. I can't say anything bad about anyone named Rob. Maybe I can, but not this guy. This guy is amazing. He is fantastic. And I am glad that we are forming this partnership. Look, there are some things in the works. This is just very early on in the process, but I want to give a big shout out to Rob at Tally Brand Company. Okay. You go to tallybrand.com. Okay. You can find this apparel. Look, they got hats, they got flags, they got license plate covers, they got phone cases. If you are a true Bears fan who cannot stand the Green Bay Packers, they have plenty of stuff for you with the FGB. Green Bay sucks. It is fantastic. They have a big banner type thing. They have the license plate covers. I don't know if I said that earlier. They have so much stuff. Go check his site out. Again, all just custom. A Bears fan who wanted to create something that, like, he just didn't like what was out there, and he wanted to create something that he felt great about. Again, we have stuff in the works. We want to celebrate our 2,000 subscribers that we hit, right? We have a giveaway in the details. Those details will be coming out shortly. But we also are working on getting him on the show to actually talk about his brand from the beginning. So I'm not going to give too much details yet. That should be coming very, very soon. So thank you, Rob. Thank you, Tally Brand Company. Guys, please go check this out. If you are a Bears fan, you will find plenty of great stuff.
Love it. Love it. Great fit. Looks sharp. And thank goodness he doesn't go by Bob. Ugh.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Bob. Just kidding. Should have been on the show.
Should have been.
So, Rob, you mentioned it earlier. This team in 2025 gave us some thrilling moments, some that you're going to remember for years to come. As you said, almost, a few plays away from the NFC Championship. So is it possible they've actually gotten better? Or, as many in the national kind of scope seem to think, is a regression in the works? Let's do it position by position. Should we start with the very most important position?
If you're going to say coaching staff, that's where I'm heading.
Fair.
If you're going to say quarterback, we got to wait a little bit.
Fair. All right. Let's start with the coaches.
Look, coaching clearly matters. Okay, we have seen that. The transition that we saw from Matt Eberflus to Ben Johnson has been enlightening. Now, I will say the hope is, there's a lot of people out there that are still hesitating. They're like, well, we've seen this before with the 2018 Matt Nagy situation, right? Like he came in and everything looked great. And, he did make 2 playoffs appearances in 3 seasons. That's pretty good. But that was on the heels of an historic defense that was not sustainable. The offense was just meh. Mitch Trubisky played probably his best season, and he hit his ceiling as best he could in 2018. A lot of things went very right for them. People might say that's the case that happened with the Bears last year for the 2025 team, right? They had a lot of comebacks where they were losing until the last minute, all the takeaways that they had, even though they had a historically bad pass rush. But there's just something different about the way that Ben Johnson coaches. There is just something different. And I will say there has never been a coach that I had wanted more to be on any Chicago team. The Bulls just got a new coach. I didn't know enough about him. I had to ask, is this a Ben Johnson hire or Matt Eberflus hire? Most people are saying it's more somewhere in between, but closer to the Ben Johnson hire. So I'm hoping that's the case. He's clearly here. Nothing's changing there. But Justin, there's 2 big names that come to mind for me in the coaching change shakeup here. I just want to hear your opinion. Maybe you got the same names.
Yeah, well, I just want to quickly say something about Matt Nagy compared to Ben Johnson. Both of those are offensive-minded coaches, but Ben Johnson has way more skins on the wall in terms of his ability as simply an offensive mind to coordinate an offense. Some people feel like Nagy kind of was a bit of a play collector and was running an offense that he kind of inherited from Andy Reid. Well, that's not the case with Ben Johnson. So even if you just compare them as offensive-minded gurus, I'm putting Ben Johnson ahead of Nagy. But the true test, which I believe Ben Johnson passed with an A+ last season, is he anything more than just an offensive mind? He absolutely is. He is an offensive mind who's also a CEO coach and definitely a culture builder. And you can see it, and the buy-in was immediate, and the buy-in is transferring to this season. So from that standpoint, I think that this is sustainable, well into the future. But they did lose 2 coaches. Why is my man slipping in my mind? He's so young, the OC.
Declan Doyle.
Declan Doyle. So you're losing Declan Doyle.
Rules.
He's a young, very young offensive mind. Kind of like people are projecting that he's one of those next bright offensive minds. And then you lost Eric Bieniemy. Now, to me, with Declan Doyle, I see it as Doyle was being influenced and learning a lot from Ben Johnson. I don't know how much his influence was anything about the success of the team. Hopefully, Press Taylor will be fine. He's a guy who's done it before. And with Eric Bieniemy, I do think that might be a bigger deal than we think. He was a tough coach. He demanded a lot from the players. And, if you hear DeAndre Swift talk, if you hear Kyle Monangai talk, they definitely feel he helped them improve as players. Now they're bringing in Stubbsfield, who in his own right has, very well experienced coach. And at the end of the day, it's your running back coach. So I'm not going to act like, the whole season it depends on what you get out of your running back coach. I could just see there being a slight tick down in whatever that even means, but those things that they developed and learned last year should carry over anyway, because it's part of who they now are as players. So as a staff, I think they kept a lot of people. We definitely thought they were going to lose Al Harris, and they kept him. So I think this coaching staff, it's one of those things when you go into a week, you feel like, wow, we probably have the edge. We probably have the coaching advantage here. And off the air, me and Bob were talking, the Bears they lead the league this year in a +15 for extra days rest they're going to have against their opponents. Now, most of it is against the Saints in their bye week, 7 days there. And that's for your physical body. You're going to have more rest. But that's also extra time for your coaches to prepare. And we have an A-level coaching staff. So I think from 2025 coaching to 2026, they're probably even slightly better, because Ben Johnson's a guy that's constantly learning and improving. There's probably a slight tick up, but they were already at a very high level.
Yeah, and Press Taylor is now the offensive coordinator, right? So he was here before, so it wasn't like they brought in someone new. He was a passing coordinator for them underneath Doyle. And he, has plenty of experience also, even though he's also young. But this is Ben Johnson's offense. It doesn't really matter who's there. To your point, I think, Doyle was learning under Ben Johnson. I think Taylor is going to continue to learn under Ben Johnson. This is his baby. It's going to be his baby, and it's going to be this way forever. I think the Bieniemy thing could be potentially a not a problem, but I mean, I do think it does knock them down a little bit of a peg. And I know Studesville is very well respected around the league. And but look, as soon as Bieniemy went back to Kansas City, right? Even Patrick Mahomes came out and said, it's nice having him here. Like you get that that locker room feel of just getting down into the dirt and getting, going out. I don't remember exactly how he said it, but basically just like seriousness, right? Like we're getting down to business.
And he probably said we finally got rid of that Nagy guy.
I mean, that probably helped a little bit, right? But I mean, it's just one of those things where like you could tell how serious he is as a coach, and he's like a no nonsense type guy. And we saw that in camp last year. I mean, there's videos where we're as fans are just getting excited for the drills that he was running. And to your point, I don't think it's going to make or break the season. In any case, I would have much rather seen him go than Al Harris go. I think Al Harris has got to be out the door next year if they are successful again with takeaways. But it's just one of those things where I think it's a wash for me. I think it's a wash.
Well, and then
Dan Rochar being here too, I think is important.
One little quick nugget with Studesville. When Ben Johnson was asked kind of at the end of minicamp, what are you going to do? You have 6 weeks off. He's not a guy who's going to take much time off. One of the things he said was, I want to start looking at some of this Miami run game. I'm excited by some of the things that I saw him running. How can I incorporate that? And so you lose Bieniemy, you lose that whatever he was as a coach, but you're also gaining something in new exposure, new way of looking at things. And Ben Johnson seems like one of those guys. He's a sponge. Like he's going to take it in, and now that's going to be a little tweak here or there. So net neutral probably.
Yeah, for sure. He can put these little wrinkles into his offense that maybe he didn't have before, and that's a really good point, to be honest. So let's talk about the offense. We'll just quickly go position group by position group. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Look, quarterback, are they better in 2026 than they are in 2025? They have basically the exact same, at least starting two, right? Like, what do you think? Are they better, worse?
Here's the thing. It's easy to just look like on paper they're the exact same, but they're absolutely.
I forgot. Keenum's still here. How did I forget that?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if you're talking about like who's the young guy, Mason Miller, maybe practice type of guy, but
Moss Miller.
Sorry. So on paper it's the same guys, but they are better, and I'll tell you that 100%. Comment, guys, but don't comment against that. They are better because they now have continuity. The one little way they're better is at this time last year, we were still talking about like they could barely get out of the huddle with the plays. They were having all these pre-snap penalties in minicamp, and none of that was reported this time around. So, Caleb Williams is obviously the key, but he's familiar with the system. It's going to allow him to play freer right from the beginning. They are better at that position, even though it's the same guys. You're not going to argue against that, so.
No, I'm not. If this was like news or noise and we were trying to be like who's news and who's noise, there is no way anyone could argue against this. You have two guys going into the exact same system for the first time maybe in their career, right? Even Tyson Bagent, if I recall, right? Like he's been here. This is year 5 for him, right? So you had oh gosh, why am I blanking on the Packers guy? Getsy, thank you. Right. And then you had Shane Waldron. Then last year you had Ben Johnson. So like this will be continuity again, right? Even for him. And look, I mean, there's no way that you could look at this and say, oh, they're going to be worse. Caleb Williams was in the 58.1% was his completion percentage off the top of my head here. You got to think it's going to at least improve slightly, even if he gets to 60 or 62%, right? I mean, there's just no way that they can be worse at what they were last year. Even with the heroics aside, Caleb Williams is going to be more efficient in 2026.
And I think, again, the memories of 2025, the heroics were great. You didn't want to be in that many, heart-stopping moments. But the efficiency, the familiarity could lead to success throughout the game where you don't need the heroics. That's the hope.
Right. All right. Running back room. Look, I'll start us off here. It's almost the same at that position as well, right? You got Swift, Monungai. The difference is now Monungai is starting at the second spot versus starting at the third and fourth spot and having to work his way up, right? He proved himself last year. He's going to be that second running back. You now have continuity at that position as well. I know Bieniemy's gone, but that's, a position coach in the sense that, to your point, maybe it adds more wrinkles to the offense, but you're still going to have similar blocking schemes and similar language, and you're going to be in a situation where you should know the offense better. And they played great last year. Will they perform at the same level? That's not necessarily true, because we'll get to the offensive line, but that has changed slightly. But that doesn't mean that they are worse on paper. I think it, again, just from the gradual impact of being in the same offense, same core of players for the most part on that offense, you are better now than you were last year.
Yeah, I mean, as hard as I went in on that being the philosophy at quarterback, I would be a hypocrite to say anything otherwise. But I don't feel quite as strongly here. I more so think you just are the same. I would have liked to see, and I still have a name that I would love to see come back, to have a little more depth behind those two. You know the name.
Was he an MVP? Was he an MVP?
Yeah, MVP. Ian Wheeler. Now, I don't know if they're going to bring him back. Obviously, if you're a running back 3, what you can do on special teams becomes enhanced. But with Roschon Johnson, I don't know. I think they could have tried to improve there. So I am more so thinking you've just stayed the same. And again, Swift and Monungai were great, but you didn't really deal with too much in injuries with them. Obviously, there was a little bit of that. And they performed probably closer to where their peak is. With Monungai, he was a rookie, so you would hope he's still going up. But I would more say even here, but still good. You had probably the best 1-2 punch in the league.
Agreed. All right, let us know in the comments. What do you think about the running back position? Let's go to the wide receiver group. Look, DJ Moore obviously out. That's a big name, right? I mean, he is a legit stud most games in the NFL. I don't know if you could say he's like a wide receiver 1 in that regard, but he was as close as you probably could get. What do you think here? I mean, are you saying even? Are you saying because they lost DJ Moore and now they're behind? Are you saying Luther Burden's going to just whoosh and take this away?
Here, what I'll say, I feel you have slightly improved. But that's weird to say. It's weird to say. And here's why I'm saying it, though. The Luther Burden you have entering the 2026 season, I think, is vastly improved over the Luther Burden you had entering the 2025 season. I hate to even say it. I mean, maybe this would have been a news or noise or something we could debate with Bob even. But Luther Burden is more and more seeming like the wide receiver 1. And I'm a big Rome Odunze guy. Now with Odunze, the way he started last season was exciting. That injury definitely hampered him. And we are supposed to think he's over that completely. His words in the press conference were a little unnerving, but you have a nice one too. Now losing DJ Moore as your 3 is a big deal. But between Khalif Raymond, Jade Walker, Xavier Thomas, I just feel the depth at the position has improved. Because last year, you after those big 3 you had, you were not sure what you had in 4, 5, 6. Olamide Zacchaeus underwhelmed. I think Khalif Raymond is already looking like he's better than that or more than that. Jade Walker was an undrafted. He was an unknown last year, but now you know, and he surprised us. So I think overall the room slightly better, even though you lost a big name in DJ Moore.
Yeah, they also brought in veteran Scotty Miller. So, there's another name to put in there in that competition. You got Maurice Alexander still on the team as well. Look, JP Richardson, that was a camp name too last year. Let's not forget about him. I will say what's interesting with the Khalif Raymond thing, it's early. We're going to see what happens. But Zacchaeus was looking real sharp in training camp, real sharp in preseason. He was like the go-to guy for Caleb Williams. Everyone was hyping him up. I was hyping him up. We saw it in practice. I mean, literally saw it at training camp. We thought it was a connection that was developing, and it just fell flat. But he did some dirty work. He did some stuff where he wasn't actually touching the ball, and he was out there making blocks and doing things that, Ben Johnson needs his receivers to do, not only in the receiving game, but also in the running game. So can Khalif Raymond take on that position? I think he can. Xavier Thomas here is the wild card. I'm very curious to see how they use him in their offense, if he gets any playing time at all. I would assume some type of sub package for him. But to your point, I think Luther Burden can surpass. I agree. He can surpass DJ Moore as a true wide receiver 1, a respected, this guy was supposed to be a wide receiver 1, a first round pick had he come out the year prior. because he went back and had a little bit of a rough year at Missouri. Things had changed offensively. It just wasn't the same. He dropped. Then there was concerns about his work ethic. That has been out the door. That guy has worked his ass off since he has been in the NFL. He is one of those guys that literally showed it too, even before he was drafted at the combine. He was the one that was there working and doing drills afterwards. This guy, I think, can become a stud. I only fear, those wide receivers can be divas. I just hope that he doesn't become one of those divas where it becomes an issue later on in his career. But for 2026, I agree with you. I think they will be slightly better than they were in 2025.
All right.
Tight end room, not much of a difference there. Look, you got your top two guys that you started with last year. Colston Loveland, same situation now. He's got second year. Is that going to help bump him up? Is he going to have a breakout season, or was last year his breakout and that's his ceiling? Cole Kmet, he was a serviceable tight end too. Then they go out and draft Sam Roush. I'm calling this another one that's a slightly above last year, just like the wide receiver group.
I would say it's a little more than slight, because it's kind of the logic I used with Luther Burden, I think also applies to Colston Loveland. You shared with us in the chat, in our own little private chat, Caleb Williams' numbers week 1 through 9 compared to 10 through 18. And it's like, he was fine in 1 through 9. It wasn't like they were terrible numbers, but he was a lot better through the end of last season. And it wasn't on the post, but if you looked at Colston Loveland's stats 1 through 9 and then 10 through 18, it would be astronomical how much more he improved by the end of the season. And I think that's like him establishing himself as, this is who I am, this is what I am. Big year from him. But the depth of the room is a lot better, because I think Sam Roush is your future tight end 2 in an offense where you think of 1 and 2 as starters. And now you have him as a 3. I think he's an improvement over, why am I blanking? Who was their tight end 3
last year? Oh my gosh,
year?
now I'm blanking. The guy that brought in from Miami.
But that's my point, is he was just there to block. He had maybe 4 or 5 targets, I would say, and I think he made a catch or 2 and a drop or 2 as well. But I think Sam Roush is going to be a little bit more than that. Maybe not right away. Smythe, thank you. So I think this room is potentially the best tight end room in the league. Pretty exciting.
Ooh, I like it. All right, offensive line, we're not going to group them individually, so we're just going to look at them as a whole. I'll start us off. Look, I think they're going to be slightly worse than they were last year. The fact that you lost Drew Dalman, a guy who I think is a top 10, top 8 center in the league. Now you can bring in Garrett Bradbury, who's going to be battling it out with Logan Jones, who's going to get that starting spot. The left tackle position, we don't know what that's going to look like because of the Ozzie Trapillo injury. Like, do not count on him before October. He might not even be seen at all this year. And if he does come back, will he even be to the point where he can step in and play right away as you're pushing for playoffs? I don't know. You got Jedrick Wills that they brought in, and you got Braxton Jones, and then I know Gary, had put it, I think either in the chat or he had put it in our text thread, like Theo Bennett's not getting left tackle reps. Okay. First of all, it's not even training camp yet. Let's not worry about where people are playing necessarily at this moment. He played left tackle as a starter last year. He is also in that conversation in my mind, if they need to go to him, if the other guys aren't working out. Right. So one of those guys needs to step up. I don't care who the fuck it is. One of them just needs to do it. And one of them needs to maintain it. And I don't want to see a guy take it and then lose it in week 3. And then another guy have to come in and then he loses it in week 4, or week 7. And then another guy comes in. I don't want to see the revolving door. I want someone to take it, own it, and just run with it. That's what I want. Will it happen? I don't know. But because of that, and you got Joe Thuney being 1 year older, this line, top 3 line maybe in the NFL last year, probably drops down to about a 10-12 range. It's not bad. And maybe the scheme can set them up for success, but you got to there's a bit of hesitation here. There has to be.
Yeah. I think they're slightly worse, but I'm not concerned about the unit. I think in our previous episode, when we talked about, do you have 3 dependable offensive linemen? You do. Thuney, Jackson, and Darnell Wright. Now, the problem, as you mentioned, is Thuney and Jackson, especially, they're a year older. Wright is still a young player, I would say, headed towards the prime of his career. And the 2 question marks, of course, are left tackle and center. Now, Braxton Jones was coming off an injury last year. I think that showed up in why he wasn't able to beat out a rookie and a second-year player and convincingly take that role. I hope this year he can be somewhat closer to what he was before, which was a fine, serviceable left tackle. It's center that is the issue. You lost Dalman, who was a really good player. But the good news is, and I'm hoping more so by season end, if you know that you found something in Logan Jones, that's really good for 2027, 2028, 2029, where in those years, his potential is to be what Dalman was or even better. But if we're just looking at 2026, I think it's a slight downgrade.
All right, let's move on to the defense. I think this will go a little bit faster. Let's start opposite. We're going to go right on the trenches, right across the side. Defensive tackle, defensive end. It's very similar to what was here last year. There's not a huge change here. You know, Andrew Billings is out the door. He was a seasoned veteran. You brought in a rookie 6th-round pick that a lot of people absolutely love. Like, I have my doubts. I don't see him as someone who can step in and fill in right away. He will probably flash at times, but look, Dusty Dvorak flashed at times, but I don't really think we're all pounding the table for him to come back, right? Especially not now. Although he's probably still younger than Halas Jones. Although Halas has got a ring. Yeah, I don't know. Like, when I look at this roster, look, I'm gonna say it's about the same. For me, it's a wash because it's basically exactly the same. But you got oh my God, Austin Booker, who should project to be better than what he was last year, and hopefully he stays healthy all year long. I do think that will help propel them slightly a little bit, but then you got downgrades a little bit in some other areas. So I think it's a wash for me. It's a wash.
Yeah, I can't say they're better. I don't think you're worse because you really didn't do much other than just add little pieces that are more so depth. I think, and I hope more so than I think, that they will perform a little better. And part of that is that if you take a deep dive on the numbers, they weren't very good last year. They were very bad against the run. They hardly generated any pressure. So you can't get much worse on paper or actually in performance space. So I think they may improve. You mentioned it. Austin Booker's a big reason why. I still am holding out that there may be a signing or a trade coming later, into training camp that would make me feel different about this position. Because if you add Josh Sweat across from Montez Sweat and Booker as a 3-person type of rotation, I'm feeling pretty good now. Or if you sign Jadeveon Clowney, he's my favorite, but one of those guys, you'd feel a little bit better.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
You'd be a little bit better. So right now, I'd even say you're, same or a little worse, but I'm not concerned because you were so bad and you were close to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, if you were to get Josh Sweat and Montez Sweat, quarterbacks were going to be sweating.
Nice.
Nice. But don't forget a motivated Dio, right? Like, motivated Dio. I don't really see it. Okay, linebacker. Look, you lost not TJ Edwards. You lost Tremaine Edmonds. TJ Edwards does look to be like he's coming back. I mean, he's been at camp. He's been participating. But you bring in Devin Bush, who's coming off a great year in Cleveland. Where does that play out? And then, you got DeMarco Jackson back. Who knows with Noah Sewell with his injury? You brought Jack Sanborn back. Ruben Hippolyte. I don't know. I know where I'm at in this mindset. Where are you at?
I really, really, really like Devin Bush as a player and as a signing and at the value they got him. But, and this is June 17th, we're recording this, there's a lot of questions now. I mean, why was it that DeMarco Jackson went out and then did not come back to the last 2 days of minicamp? If he shows up at training camp and he's fine, then it's no big deal. TJ Edwards, he's a year older and coming off a serious injury. And
also wasn't as good.
Ruben Hippolyte didn't perform at all during minicamp, and he was already like on the roster bubble in my mind as a 4th-round pick from just a year ago. I have my concerns. So even though Devin Bush makes me want to say they've improved, pretty much the rest of it makes me think you're a little worse off. I'll say slightly worse.
I'm glad you went there because I feel the same way. Devin Bush can propel them to be better. My concern is, and we'll see how it goes, I don't recall seeing that he was playing. I believe he's been playing middle linebacker, right? Like I'd have to double check the reports there. But that was the intention, was him to play middle linebacker. When he was in Cleveland, he was not the middle linebacker, right? He was the will. So I'm hoping that he can perform the same way as he did in Cleveland because their expectations for him coming out of the draft were very high, and he was not living up to those expectations. He did play better in Cleveland. We'll have to see what happens here in Dennis Allen's system. Moving to the cornerbacks, I am excited about the cornerback room. It's going to come down to health. We can put them both together like we did the defensive line. Yeah. So I'll just talk cornerbacks first, though. Look, Jaylon Johnson was not healthy last year. You could see it. He looks to be healthier now. If you have a healthy Jaylon Johnson, you are a better football team. Kyler Gordon, not healthy again, but that's normal. So I'm not really overly concerned about that. To me, when I look at it, it's now a wash, right? You're at the same position that you were last year. It's going to be the same this year, in my opinion. But you have Tyreek Stevenson on a rookie contract deal, right? He's trying to get a second contract. So how motivated can he be, right? He's motivated more than Dio.
He's probably motivated.
But you got Malik Muhammad right behind him, a guy who I absolutely love that they got late in the 4th round. I just think that there's a lot there to like. You got Terrell Smith coming back. There's a lot to like here on the cornerback side. I actually think they will be slightly better, mostly from a health perspective, right? If you think they can stay healthier, that right there makes them better, in my opinion. Now, I will say you got a little bit of a concern here at safety. You have 2 new safeties in the system. I think Dennis Allen went out and got his guys. I absolutely love Dylan Thieneman. I think he's going to be fantastic in the NFL. I cannot believe that he fell to them. And I love Kobe Bryant. If you look at his stats and you look at him as a whole, it's not as good as people want them or what you would think he should be getting based off the money that he's getting. The fact that Seattle let him go is a little bit concerning too. But if you look at his transition stats from corner to safety, it's a huge difference. I think he's in the right role. I think he's in the right system. I think he's going to succeed very, very well.
Yeah, I'll pick up at safeties and then go back to corners. Kevin Byard was a great player for the Bears on the field and as a leader. But he's at the point of his career where he's only going to be signing 1- and 2-year deals the rest of the way. So had he been on this roster in 2026, I don't think you could just pencil him in for another 7 interceptions. You kind of got the most you could out of him, and now you've moved on to a younger player who's pretty exciting in Kobe Bryant. So Brisker was kind of a question mark, but stayed healthy all year last year, and I think played at just solid safety for you. But now you got a young guy who you think is your future, and you draft a safety in the 1st round. You're expecting him to be a future year in and year out Pro Bowl level player. That might not be what you're getting now in 2026. So now when it comes to corner, I think you said it very well. Jaylon Johnson being healthy or even close to healthy is a huge upgrade. You got so little out of Kyler Gordon last year that it's not trending right already from here, but that makes you just think, oh, that'll be the same as what we got. And now if training camp comes and he's looking better, and he only has to play 4 games to play more than he played last season. So if right now you ask me, are you going to get more than 3 or are you going to get 4 or more games out of him? I'll just hopefully say yes. Hopefully it's not 6, the depth is good. I was surprised I didn't hear a lot about Malik Muhammad in minicamp. I don't know if you did, but overall, I think the room is an improvement because of Jaylon Johnson. There is concern about having new safeties, so I'm only going to say it's a slightly better situation. But that the better they do, that helps that line that I already was worried about. So as an entire unit, I think there's hope that you are headed in the right direction. But again, the bar was kind of low.
All right. So overall, I think we have them, based off of the conversations we had, I have them slightly better than they were in 2025. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to perform better. Different year, different teams that they're playing, like things change. Will they win the NFC North again? I'm not so confident, but I do think they will be competing. I do think they will be competing for a playoff spot. I do think that they will be competing for the Super Bowl. I said it in the other episode. I just think the Rams are going to be the one to win it.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall you're slightly better for 2026. But I think you have a lot of players where the arrow is headed up. So the excitement is this isn't just about 2026. This is about so much more. And to your point about the Rams, they are a team you should worry about. But they're making an all-in type of move because their MVP level quarterback is 38 or 39 years old. Yours, who you hope is in the MVP conversation this year, is 24 years old. So Bears fans, Halas Huddle fans, the future looks very bright. I'm excited about 2026, but I'm just as excited, if not more, about 2027, 2028, and on and on and on.
Well, you know what I'm excited for? I'm excited for this hat, man. I just keep looking at this hat, and I am just like, this might be my game day hat going forward. I have one other hat that I wear that's black, or like a grayish black, that matches different color outfits. So this might be my game day hat when I'm always in the blue and orange. But yeah, I'm also excited for camp battles, Justin. I'm very curious to see who you want to talk about. I'm just going to throw mine out there, and then if you have any that you disagree with or want to, incorporate, please let me know. Let's just do offense first, and we'll do defense. We'll try to rapid fire this because we're going a little bit longer than I expected. Look, Garrett Bradbury versus Logan Jones. That one, it comes off the top of my head right away because I said it when they drafted him that I did not dislike the player. I just thought the value for that position after you went out and got a guy who you thought could be your starter, right? A guy who was a starting center in the Super Bowl. You better give him open competition, because if you don't, that really bothers me, because that's a lot of draft capital for a guy who you're just putting behind the veteran and letting him learn. This isn't the same situation like a quarterback. You got to get him in there. You got to get him going. At least give him that chance, right? Give him that chance. So I want to see that competition go. The other one that I'm really excited about, and this is a little bit of an oddball, but I'm going to throw it out there. Luther Burden versus Rome Odunze. I want to see who comes out on top. And this might not be a camp battle necessarily, as it is a full season battle, but I am excited for that battle. Although they are on the same team, in my mind, they are competing for touches. I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to see it. That's pretty much it. Maybe Xavier Thomas versus Khalif Raymond. Like, who can push to be the returner? There was a huge impact on the return game this last season with the slight rule changes that they did. Way more kickoff returns than there were the year prior. So who's getting those kickoff returns, right? I want to see that competition play out as well. Am I missing anyone?
We already talked about it earlier, but left tackle, obviously.
Left tackle.
Battle. And just to say one thing about the center, if Bradbury were to win it and hold on to it for, let's say, a majority of the season, that's good, and he earns it, and that's great. But Logan Jones is definitely the future. And so you had said something earlier about continuity and not having the same OC or the same, coach or whatever. If Bradbury's your center this year and Logan Jones were to be your center next year, for Caleb Williams, it's different. So we'd love to see Jones just earn it and be the center of now and of the future, but let the best man win. That's what's good for the team. So that's all I got.
All right, you want to start defense first since I took most of the offensive thunder?
Sure. So on defense, for me, because you don't know what you have at Kyler Gordon, I'd be working hard to get a lot of guys up to speed at nickel. It's an important position in the NFL. It's kind of your starting package, to be honest, because teams are coming out, they're spreading it out, and maybe we are going to see a shift more to heavier sets where you won't be advantageous to be a nickel. But for the time being, that's going to be important. So is that Malik Muhammad? Is that Jaylon Jones? I was surprised to hear they were giving Malik Muhammad reps right away at nickel, but it's probably because they're concerned about Kyler Gordon. Now, it's a big camp, I would say, and a big season, as you said, for Tyreek Stevenson, but I don't really know that there's somebody who's directly competing him that number 2. Is that Malik Muhammad as a rookie? Is that Terrell Smith, who's coming off an injury? So I don't know if that's going to be a camp battle, but it's something to keep an eye on. And then, I think you have your edges who are starters. I think you have Sweat and Booker, but we know it's going to be a rotation. So who shows out starting in training camp? It doesn't mean as much until the games are real, but I would like to see early that things are looking better there so that you do feel like, okay, this can improve. That's all I have. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't really have much else here. Obviously, I think Dylan Thieneman is going to automatically take over that starting safety role. So, look, I know, Ben Johnson historically doesn't go with rookies early on, but I do think that's going to be seen right away. So, to me, that is technically a camp battle that I want to see. I want to see him maintain that throughout all of camp. I agree with you. I think that they need to figure out something with the nickel corner, whether it's Malik Muhammad, whether it's, maybe Tyreek Stevenson moves into that spot. Who knows? Maybe I'm not really a fan of that. Maybe it's Terrell Smith who moves into that role, right? Somebody who can play zone a little bit more. I think defensive end 2 is still up for grabs because it doesn't, Booker doesn't necessarily fit the style that Dennis Allen prefers, but I do think it's his job to lose. But I want to see that battle. I want to see whoever comes out ahead. I want to see who comes out as the defensive tackle 3 position, right? Like you went out and got Neville Gallimore. You went out and got Kentavious Street. You brought in Jordan Vandenberg, right? Like, so those are the guys you got to see how that plays out. Linebacker position, I think, is pretty much set. I guess you see who wins between DeMarco Jackson and TJ Edwards, depending on what's going on with DeMarco Jackson. But I want to see Ruben Hippolyte lose the battle. No, I want to see him win the battle and prove that he should be on this roster. That's what I want to see.
I was about to say, at linebacker, it's almost like the battle is on the team or not on the team, because you kind of think who's competing at starter. But with Jack Sanborn and Ruben Hippolyte and the rookie who I'm forgetting his name, he didn't perform in minicamp either, from Arizona State. Well, you could edit this out, Rob.
I can't think of it either.
It's unfortunate. I don't have my stuff pulled up. But anyway, there's a lot of depth, so somebody's not going to make this roster. So that battle is to just make the team. That's all I got on defense.
All right. Well, that's all we got for this show. It went way longer than I thought it was going to. Thank you guys for joining us. Please, if you are still here, go hit that subscribe button. Please like and comment for the algorithm. Okay. We have some interviews coming up. I already hinted at one. I have another one regarding the stadium that we're still trying to get scheduled. There's been some scheduling conflicts that was actually supposed to be happening tonight. So Justin and I had to throw this together kind of last minute. Thank you, Bob, for coming up with some categories and some topics for us to discuss. This is a good show.
Thank you, Keyshawn Elliott, for being the linebacker that the Bears drafted.
Keyshawn Elliott. Good job. Good job.
I got nothing else, Rob.
I got nothing else either. Bear down. Go World Cup. That's for Gary. Claws up.